It's a little past 5 a.m. and the first thing I want to do to start my Anderson's split pea soup is I'm going to soak some ham hocks in cold water. After they soak in cold water for a few hours, I'm going to give them a rinse off, and then we'll begin to cook them. And that's it. I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm gonna get my day started. But this is it. Soak your ham hocks in cool water. This is another good idea just if you're cooking them in general. They have a tendency to have a dehydrated skin, and it's really nice to just be able to rehydrate that skin a bit before and kind of clean them up and remove a little bit of that smokiness to create just a nice overall not so harsh smoky flavor, especially in something like a split pea soup. So I am going to be using the cooking liquid for it, and I may use the ham hock meat as a garnish. But for right now, I'm just trying to get a good savory pork flavored stock. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna just go ahead and cool this. I'll probably look in on it in another maybe hour, around 6, when the light comes up, when the day's light starts. And I'm going to maybe change the water, give them a little rinse under cool running water, and then refill the pot again. So I'm gonna get a lid for this pot, and we shall see each other in about an hour and see how they look. Okay, it's been a little over an hour. The sun's out. So it's looking a lot more hydrated. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to give it a good wash under cold running water, and then I'm going to soak it again in some more cold water to see how cloudy the water is. And I haven't really agitated it. So now that it's been soaking for a little bit of time, I'm gonna give it that good cleaning, and then I'm gonna soak again. This is the ham hocks after their first rinsing off, second soak. And look at how clean they look. I cleaned out the bone area with that like coagulated kind of blood on the bones. I rinsed it. I removed any of the sharp bone fragments that are often around the cut side area, and it's looking great. The hydration is really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this sit probably another half an hour to 45 minutes. Empty the water, and then I'm gonna start cooking it. All right, this is the final cleaning. It's been about half an hour. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scrape away all of this last bit of like coagulated blood. I'm gonna run it under water, and then I'm gonna put it to boil. I'm gonna start it at a gentle simmer. I'm not gonna bring it to a hard boil because again, this skin is still very dehydrated, and I want it to, you know, all rehydrate and start plumping out naturally. But we'll get to that, you see. And even though it's not a lot, but it's still, all this is gonna be cleaned out. All this has got to go. I've made ham hocks for many years. And this method came to me about the soaking because I noticed that I was doing a 2-day procedure to get the ham hocks tender enough for me to debone them, because I don't serve ham hocks on the bone. It's just too much, and if they're in another kind of a dish, then it's not good. I've had many a talk with other cooks and chefs who especially visit him at Rockjevity Project, my chef mentor, we talked about, you know, a lot of times some different ethnic foods are served bone on, but he said there's never a good time to serve anything with bones in it. And I've come to find out he's right. If you like bones in your food, then that's your prerogative. But I'm gonna end up deboning this, and that's why I had this method. There they are, looking great. Nice and clean. I put enough water to cover by about, I don't know, more than double. It's gonna cook for a very long time. I'll check it. I'm not gonna put any kind of aromatics or salt in it right now because this is still gonna let off a little bit of that foam, that scum. So I wanna make sure that I can clean it properly because I want a nice, clean, flavorful stock for my split pea soup. So that's gonna be it for a good long time. Like I said, I'm gonna put it to medium-low heat. Once it like comes to a simmer, I'm gonna turn it down, and I'm just gonna keep an eye on it, skim it periodically, and maybe I'll show a video of that. I do have my dad coming over this morning. Yay. All right, we're just gonna be visiting. He lives locally, but I like seeing him. All right, so that's it. Time to put you on the heat. We're taking a bath. No, you're gonna get cooked. Ah. So the ham hocks have just started coming to a simmer. And a simmer is just this. Gentle bubbles coming up. And you see how nice and clean all this is. It's just beautiful. It was that soaking. It shouldn't look like all, you know, brown and crazy. A lot of this coloring is from the smoke. I mean, all that foam, or some people call it scum, is just proteins that are cooking. I'm gonna keep doing this. There's not a lot right now, which is good, but it will keep doing this. This is, look at how beautiful that is. My liquid is nice and transparent. It's not cloudy. You could still see the ham hock through the water. That's just what you want to see. So I'm gonna let this come to a boil, and then I'm gonna reduce it to a simmer. By the time it comes to an active boil, then I think the majority of the scum will rise to the top. And then I'm going to lower it to a simmer, and I'm going to cover it. Well, I'm going to offset cover it. I'm not going to completely cover it, but I'm going to mostly cover it and just leave a little gap for some ventilation. And we'll just keep checking it periodically. It's almost a few minutes to 8 a.m. So I've been at this process for about a little over 2 hours, but it's worth it. What's worth doing is worth doing well. I'm taking those extra steps. So I did like kind of my almost last skimming, but I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of salt now, and that's gonna be the only adjustment that I'm gonna make until this is like where I want it to be, which is gonna be just starting to get fork tender. Since I am putting this in the soup has carrots and onions and bay. Whew. Go away, steam. We'll talk about that when I'm not cooking up the phone. But 1 teaspoon of just good sea salt, not too salty, into the ham hocks, and I'm gonna cover. Okay, I took the beautiful ham hocks out. I want to show you how tender it is. I'm just gonna let this fork fall on it. Look, it just pierces it literally from the weight. I'm not doing anything but holding it. I'm gonna let it cool. I'm gonna debone it, and then I'm gonna put the bones back into my stock. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take it off in layers. You see how tender the meat is. I could just easily pull it out. And like I said, it's too hot to handle. But what I don't want is the meat to become washed out. So that's why the hydration works. It just creates such a luscious skin without, you know, losing all the flavor. But I want to get those bones back in. So I'm gonna try to take it out with like the skin first. Something like this. Clean out, separate all the meat from the bones. Get it all perfectly cleaned. If there's any sinew or anything undesirable in there, set it aside. Get these bones in there because I want max flavor. Once I cook the bones in the stock that we have going, I'm gonna strain it all out again, and then we're gonna start cooking our peas for our Anderson's split pea recipe. I'm gonna go hang out with my dad outside. So in the meantime, I'm just gonna let this cool off. But I wanted to show you just how fork tender is. And then this is the kind of thing that you don't want in your food. See, who wants to bite into this? And there will be some meat that clings to it, so it'll just continue to flavor the stock. But we want to preserve all this beauty. I want to preserve you beauties. We are pretty. Okay. On with it. So I got over 2 cups of bones out of my ham hocks, and they're going in now. And there was 1 extra large bone I had put in from one of them already. So that's it. Keep skimming the top as needed, and keep letting this reduce by at least another half. It's 10:46, so these things have been cooking almost 4 hours. And it's gonna cook probably another, I would say, 2. We'll see. And here's the meat now that's detached from the bones. I'm gonna let it cool completely just to make it easy to cut and handle, and get out any kind of pockets of grease that are undesirable, or any kind of gristle or anything that's just not perfect meat. And then I am going to dice it, and I'm going to dice it, and then I'm going to refrigerate it. But I'm just letting it cool now. Look at all that yumminess. Seven hours of cooking. Look at how nice and creamy my bone broth looks. I just tested the bone, and I could almost crush it with my hand. I ended up adding all of the pieces of, you know, the extra little collagen and things that I didn't want from the ham hock. This piece of skin was too hard, and I just decided to sacrifice it to our bone broth. But I'm going to strain all of it, and it'll have a secondary use, not for eating. But anyhow, look at how great that looks. I'm gonna give it a little while longer, then I'm gonna strain it, probably half an hour more, just to get the last bit of goodness out of those bones. And then we're gonna start cutting the meat that was on the ham hock. It's being refrigerated, so it could get some body, so it's easy to slice. Remember the bones? All right, they're out. This is not meat. See, that's how deep the smoking process is with some of these. It looks like, oh, I'm leaving all that wonderful meat behind. No, I'm not. And this was the piece of ham hock I sacrificed to the stock, and I just tried it again, and it's not worth eating. It should be succulent and thick. This feels kind of rough and dried, and it just got too much smoke, and it's not gonna come back, but it added wonderful viscosity to the stock. But my point of showing you this is not to talk about the bones, it is, but just to say that, and that's all that little sinew and stuff that I pulled off. That's all good for stock. But what I wanted to say is before you start straining your stock, you gotta take out the heavy parts, like the bones. Because if you start dumping these bones in a sieve or a thing, it's gonna splash, it's gonna be heavy, you're gonna be overwhelmed. So just with my same skimmer, or if you have a bigger spider or whatever kind of a thing, you can, a slotted spoon, just take out the bones, give them, you know, put them aside. I'm gonna give mine to the dogs, but do what you want. I'm going to now pour the remaining stock, ham bone stock through a sieve, and I'll show you that now. Okay, here we go. A bowl, big bowl, big enough bowl for what you're gonna use. Okay, look at that beauty. There's not a lot left. Put that other part with my scraps. And then I'm going to let this cool down till it's not as hot. Not quite room temperature. I mean about room temperature, but it's really warm. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it into my refrigerator, because that's it for today on this part of the video. But this is, I wanted to do this video separate. I'm going to call this masterclass. No, I can't call it masterclass, because that is that trademarked? I'm gonna call it how to make the perfect ham bone, the perfect ham hock stock. That's it. How to make the perfect ham hock stock. And it's only gonna take you all day. What else do you need for perfection, right? Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this. All right, I've got dishes to do, and I'm working on 1,000 other things, including dinner, and I want to bake a little pound cake for everybody, because I'm sure everybody's gonna come home ravishing for a dessert later on. So all of my ham hock meat is cut. It's beautifully diced. I took it out of the refrigerator, and it looked perfect. This is the example of the skin. Look at how pliant it is. It's so thick, it's succulent, it's wonderful, it's easy to cut. It's bouncy, it's firm, that's what's really great. And so I'm gonna finish dicing this piece, and then I'm gonna use some of my stock to cover all of this. Let's see if I could get a shot of me playing. Can I chew gum and walk at the same time? Probably not. Oh, okay. Well, that wasn't so bad. All right, you see how beautifully it cuts once it's cold? I mean, it cuts okay when it's not cold. I'm getting shadowed from this container, but okay, it's just perfect. It's just, you can dice it, and now you're ready for your garnish. And by garnish, I mean, let's say, or not garnish, let's just say you're ready for your collard greens, your beans, your whatever you're gonna do. If you wanted to process this a little bit more and do a dumpling, or you wanted to do some taco, or however you wanted to do it, it's all cut and beautiful. Look at that, just perfection, clean. Still, even though I took great care to debone it earlier, once I started dicing it, it gave me the opportunity to go through each and every last little bit to make sure that the only thing I had was beautiful, clean ham bone meat. So just imagine, hold on, let me grab this from behind me. Look at how much bone 3 ham hocks produce in comparison to clean meat. Isn't that astonishing? That's too much. That's crazy. And look at, that's what it should be. Just ready for all of your holiday meals and not holiday meals. It smells so fragrant, not too smoky, just the right amount of subtle smoke. And that's why it's so important to get rid of all this. And then look at that skin. That's just not, it's overly smoked and dried. It's never gonna come back like this succulent little piece that I'm cutting here. Right, the last thing I wanna show you is how I'm gonna cover it. So just give me a second. I've got my strained ham hock stock, and I'll show you that in the next segment. This has been kind of filmed out of order because I wanted to have this strained before I showed you this part because it's ready to go. So I have my beautifully cleaned and strained, perfect ham hock stock, and I'm just gonna cover it so that all of my meat is perfectly protected and dry. Not dry, like sealed from getting dried out, basically. I'm giving it a protective coating. And this is gonna be like Jell-O. Tomorrow, when I take this out, this is gonna literally, I could probably pick it up in one chunk. You'll have to see that in my video of making my Anderson's pea soup, which is what started it all. Add the additional pieces to that. I'm gonna cut the last one and kind of just submerge it. Get it all submerged. I just have one little tiny piece of ham hock to go. All right, this is too much. But anyway, I don't want to take up too much time doing that. Just dice it the same exact way in little pieces or whatever size you need for the recipe you're making. And if you have to hold it, as in you're going to do something else with it for the holidays or whatever you're going to do, get this process done and hold it and suspend it in this wonderful gelatinous beauty. And then you'll be ready to just get that whole thing and dump it into all of your recipes that you need. And it won't dry out, it won't get weird, it'll just stay just as succulent as ever. And actually, this is why I started doing this, and this is the reason I started doing this method, not deboning it, but suspending it, is because the skin, how I removed it early from the bones, it's gonna continue to get softer, and it's going to even rehydrate more, and everything, all these hammy parts that really were kind of inside of the meat will continue to rehydrate. And when you eat it, it's just gonna be so succulent. Boy, nobody has ever taught me that. I don't know, is there somebody doing it and not telling us all about this process? Because let me tell you, I had to learn this the hard way. The hard way, like everything else. Another thing I've worked on. All these things I'm showing you, I have learned through blood, sweat, and tears. But I'm just thinking about all of you and my grandkids or great-grandkids or somebody in the future who may need to know how to do this. And it's not available. I haven't seen it anywhere. I haven't looked necessarily like that deep on any kind of a thing, but I've never seen anybody do it on their thing. They usually just cook it all, throw it in there. They don't do the pre-soak to get the initial smoke and grime off. They don't debone it. They don't chill it. They don't cut it. They don't do all the thing, but it makes such a difference. It really, really does. All right, I got to get on to it because, like I said, I'm going to be making a dessert. I have other stuff to do in my regular life, but here it is. The ham hock. If you have lots of time, I have to look at the video again, my last one. What did I say? I agreed that I can't say master class, but something. I want to call this "Don't Make Ham Hocks Any Other Way Until You See This Video." That's it. Don't make ham hocks any other way until you see this video.